Hey everyone, welcome to the Seattle Coffee Gear YouTube channel. I'm John. Today we're going to be talking about short-term maintenance tips that you can do for your espresso machine. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel. If you're in the process of researching your next coffee equipment purchase, or you just want to stay up to date with coffee equipment, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're always posting new content about machines, different grinders, all things coffee equipment, as well as maintenance videos like this. There will be a second part of this video coming about long-term maintenance, so be sure to keep a lookout for that next video. We recently had the chance to collaborate with Men's Journal on a piece about maintaining semi-automatic home espresso machines. Every few years, we try to put out new content on maintenance just to keep it at the top of your mind. So we figured better time than ever to put out more content on maintaining your equipment so you can keep it happy, healthy, and making the best coffee possible. First up on our list is a tip that you can work into your daily bar flow, and that's purging. Purging both the brew group and the steam wand after every use will go a long way towards keeping your machine healthy, happy, and producing great tasting drinks. Every time you finish pulling a shot of espresso, right when you go to knock out that old puck, make sure to lift your brew lever or start some water flow from the group to help rinse off any old coffee residue. You can take this even one step further. That's what I do at home. I keep one of the Palo coffee tools next to my espresso machine, and in between shots while I'm rinsing, I'll give that dispersion screen a good scrub to help break down any coffee residue or clear out any grounds that might be hanging around. I mentioned two types of purging. The second one is purging your steam wand. As soon as you froth a pitcher of milk and you take it off the steam wand, give it a good blast into a towel for 2 or 3 seconds and then wipe that milk residue off of the steam wand. Doing this will help prevent any potential suction of milk back into the steam boiler. It'll also help that valve stay moving freely so it can seal well and avoid any leaking on your countertop. It's also kind of gross to have old milk, whether it's dairy milk or non-dairy milk, hanging around on your steam wand. Over time, that's gonna get crusty and gross, and nobody wants to see that on an espresso machine. So make sure to purge your steam wand and give it a good wipe after every use. These two things are super simple to work into your bar flow every time you use your machine. They'll help your machine stay cleaner for longer and making good tasting espresso for longer. I do want to know if I'm the weird one. Does anybody else use the coffee tool like this in between shots? Let me know in the comments because I want to hear about your habits. Next up on our list is something that can be difficult or it can be really easy, and that's using the right water for your espresso machine. Why should we care about water? There's two real reasons with that. First off, coffee is over 98% water, at least when we're not talking about espresso. And so your coffee can only taste as good as your water. If you're starting out with bad tasting water from the get-go, there's no way your coffee's gonna taste how you want. If your water has too much mineral content or certain other compounds, it can lead to buildup or damage on your espresso machine. Water that's too hard causes scale to build up and cause your machine to work inefficiently. Water that's too soft or too pure is actually corrosive to the metal inside your espresso machine, and over time can cause pinhole leaks or even boiler failure. Our repair center keeps some examples of parts that have been affected by bad water quality. Here we have a few heating elements that have been scaled up, and even one that ended up bursting because of the effects of scale. So this is a vivid reminder of why good water matters. I also have a piece of a mushroom cap from an E61 group that has all of this nasty scale crusted on it. that's really gonna affect your machine's performance. Our goal with water is to find a sort of happy medium between soft and hard. You want some mineral content so your coffee tastes good, but you don't want too much that you see build up on your espresso machine. There's two easy ways that I tell customers to look at water quality. First off, water is a very complex subject, and I know a little bit, but I'm definitely not a pro when it comes to talking about water. Two simple things that you can look at to help figure out if water is good for an espresso machine would be TDS, or total dissolved solids, or total hardness. These things are typically measured in ppm, or parts per million. Sometimes with hardness, you'll see that measured in grains per gallon. If you want to get nerdy about water, you can try and find your local city's water report or consumer confidence report and see if these values are listed. If these values are in a good range, say around 80 to 150 parts per million TDS, or around 2 to 5 grains per gallon of hardness, that's a pretty good sign that your local water just needs a little bit of simple carbon filtration and it's safe to use with your espresso machine. Most local reports don't list this info, but if you want to do the extra work, you can try calling your local water department and seeing if they might have this info and could give it to you over the phone. Oftentimes you'll find somebody who is more helpful than you might expect. Unfortunately, for a lot of us in the United States, that's where Seattle Coffee Gear is. You might be watching this elsewhere in the world. A lot of the US has water that is much too hard for espresso machines. In these cases, it's probably a better bet to buy spring water from a good bottled source that you know is at the right level for an espresso machine. If you're on the West Coast, I'd recommend using Crystal Geyser. If you're on the East Coast, oftentimes Poland Spring is a great source that has good mineral balance for an espresso machine. Another trick I'll use sometimes if I don't know the mineral content of a spring water is I'll go to that company's website. Usually they'll have a report that lists a breakdown of everything that's found in that spring source. If you don't have access to these spring water sources, you can also buy distilled water and add a mineral addition powder to it, something like Third Wave Water or another company like that. The one thing I'll note with that water is that it's crucial to use distilled water with those mineral packets. Sometimes we'll have folks bring machines into our repair center that'll have a ton of buildup on the boilers, and it turns out they were using purified water or spring water and then adding minerals back to that and causing this super concentrated water that led to really quick buildup on their machines. Here in the Northwest, our tap water is already pretty soft, sometimes on the edge of being too soft. So we're lucky that we can get away with pretty simple filtration. If you've had to do some crazy things to get the right water for your espresso machine, I want to hear about it. I talk to people about water all the time, and I love hearing creative solutions that I might not have thought of before. So leave a comment down below if that's you. Our next tip is even less involved. This tip is just to simply use the hot water spout on your espresso machine. If you have a machine that's a dual boiler or a heat exchanger, this will help avoid mineral buildup in that steam boiler, which is sometimes called a service boiler. Your steam boiler kind of operates like a still. As it heats up water to produce steam, oftentimes the mineral content that was in that water is left behind as the water changes into steam. Over time, this can create water that is very mineral rich and mineral saturated, and that can lead to buildup on your boiler or heating element, making it work less efficiently. Even if you have great water, if you never use your hot water spout, you'll likely still see buildup in your steam boiler and on your heating element, leading to expensive repairs that you could avoid just by using a little bit of hot water every time you use your machine. Using your hot water spout every time you use your machine helps to keep that boiler water fresh, because every time you pull some hot water out, it's replaced by fresh water. That prevents the water in your boiler from becoming oversaturated with minerals. Well, that concludes these 3 tips to help your machine stay its best. I know I mentioned it in the intro of this video, but if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you're watching our videos, just subscribe and we'll notify you when new videos come out. That way you can stay up to date on all things SCG. If you want even more Seattle coffee gear in your life, you can sign up for our email newsletter in the description of this video. There's a link there to do that. We'll send you info about new products, upcoming sales, interesting coffees, all things Seattle coffee gear. As a thank you for signing up for that, we'll also email you a coupon for 10% off one item. There are exclusions to that coupon, so if you have any questions, be sure to call or chat or email with our sales or support team. Chat's a great way to get a hold of us. You'll get a real live person in that chat window, and we're always happy to help. As always, I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it gave you some new insight on things to keep your machine running well. If this video brought up more questions for you about maintenance and taking care of your products, leave a comment down below. If we get enough comments, it's probably a good sign that we need to make another video on that. That brings us to the end of our time here. I hope you have a great rest of your day and keep making coffee you love.